Barnes connects.
Well, and we'll see a lot of that isolation.
Okay, so get this. We just saw one of the wildest, most surprising results of the NBA season. The San Antonio Spurs found themselves in a huge, high-stakes NBA Cup quarterfinal against the Lakers, and they had to go into battle without their phenom, Victor Wembanyama.
So that leads us to this question, which is really at the heart of this whole thing. How on earth does a team lose a talent like that and somehow get better? It sounds impossible, right? But the answer tells us a ton about where the entire league is headed.
All right, first things first. Let's set this scene here and really understand the massive, massive hole the Spurs were trying to fill. Now, this wasn't just some random Tuesday night game. This was an elimination game, do or die in the NBA Cup. And for the 12th game in a row, the Spurs franchise cornerstone, their #1 guy, was stuck on the sidelines in street clothes. Just to put his absence into perspective, I want you to look at this number. 0.6. That's how many shots Wembanyama was blocking per game. He wasn't just leading the league in blocks, he basically was the team's entire defensive scheme. Taking him out is like, well, it's like removing the walls from your fortress.
So when we throw around a term like generational talent, what are we really talking about? Well, we're talking about these numbers. This is what he was doing before he got hurt. Stats you just don't see from a rookie. This is the kind of production the Spurs were suddenly missing.
And look, this wasn't just a short-term thing where he missed a game or two. The injury happened way back on November 14th. So by the time this Lakers game rolled around, the team had already been trying to figure out who they were without him for almost a month.
So you've got the Spurs, no superstar, heading into LA for a game with playoff intensity. So what happened? Well, the exact opposite of what every single person on planet Earth predicted.
I mean, the turnaround here was just massive. Vegas, the experts, everyone had the Lakers winning this thing pretty comfortably. But the Spurs didn't just win, they dominated. They walked away with a 13-point victory in a game that honestly wasn't even that close.
And this right here, this is that paradox we started with. The numbers don't lie. The Spurs actually had a better record, a better winning percentage without their best player on the floor. It makes absolutely no sense, or does it?
To figure out how they pulled this off, you have to look at who stepped into that massive void. And on this night, one player in particular had a major coming out party.
30. That's the number. 30 points for the second-year guard Stephon Castle. Think about that.
He said just how they respond. Castle, that's a three.
Biggest game of his career, on the road, against LeBron and the Lakers, and he just completely took over.
And you could just feel the buzz from the fan base. This one comment from a user on the Spurs subreddit kind of says it all. Castle with a consistent three ball will be terrifying. That's the kind of raw excitement a performance like this creates.
But here's the thing. It wasn't just the Stephon Castle show. Not even close. Look at this list. Seven different players scored in double figures. That's not one guy getting hot. That is the absolute definition of a deep, balanced, total team victory.
So while the Spurs are celebrating, you can bet the mood in the other locker room was, well, a little different. For the Lakers, this stunning loss set off some serious alarm bells.
You know what's a big deal when you hear this from LeBron James after a tournament game? He's not talking about a bad shooting night or a few mistakes. He is questioning the very foundation of his team, their defensive identity. And Anthony Davis backed him up. That's a pretty stark admission from the two leaders of a team with championship hopes that something is fundamentally wrong and they know they have to fix it fast.
So what does one game in December really tell us? I mean, it's just one loss, right? Well, if you kind of zoom out, this one game actually reveals a fascinating shift that's happening across the entire NBA. Which brings us right back to that big question. Based on the win-loss record, it seems like an easy yes, doesn't it? But as it turns out, that's completely the wrong conclusion to draw.
The real answer is so much more interesting. The Spurs' win wasn't proof that Wembanyama holds them back. No way. It was proof that the old way of building a championship team is changing.
And who better to explain this shift than the guy who practically perfected the whole Big Three model? LeBron himself is admitting the blueprint is different. It's not about just stacking 3 superstars anymore. It's about having a deep, versatile roster that can survive anything.
But here is the brilliant final twist. When he was asked what the ideal cornerstone for this new era of depth looks like, LeBron didn't even hesitate. His answer? You find a guy like Wemby.
So in the end, isn't that incredible? The Spurs' unlikely win without their star
paradoxically became the ultimate argument for him. It proved they have the depth to be a real contender, and they got the ultimate endorsement from the greatest player of this generation that Victor Wembanyama is the exact guy you build that future around. The win showed what they are, but his absence highlighted everything they can become.